This episode of Telling Our Stories is sponsored by...
I am often asked if you can participate in focus groups if you work full-time. The answer is a resounding yes. My students have varying work schedules from not working to working part-time to working full-time and part-time, and everything in between. The one thing they all have in common is they all find a way to fit pay for your say into their schedule. There are many ways market research companies conduct focus groups. One is by Zoom, which means you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home. I've done Zoom calls as early as 6 a.m. and as late as 9 p.m. I participated in in-person groups up until 9 p.m. and occasionally on the weekends. There are online boards that allow you to participate over several days and at your leisure. There are product tests that last from days to weeks to months and require very little effort. There's even an app that conducts their focus groups from your cell phone. So if you have the desire to participate, there's always a way.
Previously on Telling Our Stories.
Saying to you, Mommy, I don't think why I'm not a boy, or Mommy, why I'm not a girl. He's already questioning his gender identity or her gender identity. And I think that parents have to educate themselves.
Welcome to Season 2 of Telling Our Stories. But this season is a little different. We're coming to you all the way from Paris, France. I decided to move to Paris briefly to learn the language. Now, while my plan was to immerse myself in French culture to learn the language, God had a bigger, brighter plan for this trip. This time around, I sit down with Black queer men and women across several sexual identities. Now make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you never miss an episode. This is Telling Our Stories, the Paris edition.
And I really feel what Mother Nikki said about this, because even it's really not the same. I think being trans woman and being lesbian is two different space. But there is this thing sometimes is hurtful about gay men, about trans women, about lesbian, about trans men even, you know.
I didn't talk.
Yeah,
I'm going to.
Yeah, it's really hurtful because you think we are in the same flag, so we have to and
get along, but we don't.
Yeah, and it's so hurtful sometimes because we know that as a lesbian, if we see two women touch hands in the street, for me it's more acceptable. People will be, oh, they're friends, you know. But you have to think of if you see two men, what is giving, you know? And sometimes it's positive, sometimes negative, because we don't take our sexuality as something really serious. They talk like straight men, it's something, is a phase, or you doing this thing and it's okay, you know,
So in other words, what I hear you saying is gay men can be just as chauvinistic.
Yeah,
straight men.
Yes, you know, and it can be hurtful even about body, you know. Sometimes even in ballroom scene, when a lot of my friends have to fight with gay men who touching just boobs and ass. Okay, I'm gay.
Yeah, right. Just because you're gay doesn't mean I want you to touch my breast.
You know, they really touch.
But they're still men. So.
Period. You know, and they're touching, and I'm no, because you know what is my life. You cannot touch just my body without asking me. You know, and it always happen. And even you see what femininity they accept. You know, for me, you know, I'm always I like my femininity, and because I don't give choice to people, and so people like me like this, you know. But I know some people they know that when they're in a ballroom they have to be really feminine, lesbian, or really feminine woman to be wow about appreciate about by gay men, you know.
Right.
And so even about sexuality, I was talking with House one day. I was damn, I have to show you lesbian sexuality one day, because they really don't know nothing, you know.
Right.
Me, I watch gay porn. I always with my gay friend talking about their sexuality, so it makes me hot. I'm okay, but I'm it's you don't know nothing about us.
And that was why I did the first version of Telling Our Stories with gay men and lesbians, because we don't know a lot about your community. You all know more about.
But you know why? I think it's because y'all are accepted or more accepted by straight men as far as y'all sexual, like it's like it's a fantasy, you know,
exactly.
to have like two girls doing stuff like that. So it's like, but if two boys are, so if two girls doing with one guy, y'all not lesbian, you know, y'all can just be freaky or whatever.
Right.
But if two guys doing it with one girl, like they gay or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna talk for every girl or whatever, but in my mind I'm like, we're not gonna care about the girls how they do that stuff, because at the end of the day, like, they're pleased the straight men regardless, you know.
And if you're in a relationship, but if she decided tomorrow that she was gonna start dating men,
it's okay.
They wouldn't still be saying, you know, she was a lesbian.
No,
all of a sudden she'll be accepted as a straight woman.
And that's I think the problem of bisexuality too, and that's why I think even in lesbian or gay community we are like this with bisexual people, like, oh, choose your side, you know. But I think that can be that is a privilege, like to be this, like I say, to like can handle can have a hand with my girlfriend in the street and people don't think you know, and people even like straight men are like, wow, it's a phantasm, but sometimes it's hard because they don't take us serious and nobody wants to be a phantasm like a straight man, like I don't know. I'm like, bitch, like stop it, and like no, you know, I don't want, but yeah, I think there is a lot of this thing, and even about history, you know, like people don't know why it's LGBT, because the lesbian are the people who help during
lesbian and trans women.
Yes, and all
drags.
Of this.
Yeah.
And people don't know this, and they're like, okay, they just like this, and that's sometimes hard. But of course, when you have privilege in some place, it's like colorism, texture, you just have to like know your place. Even in the ballroom scene, it's about like trans women. So when people come and they straight and they just like women or lesbian, I'm like, know your place. When you know your place, you can just live your life really good. You know?
Okay,
know your fucking place, you know.
When Vinny talk,
okay, go ahead.
When Vinny talk with about Butch Queen knowing femme queen since there were when they were
before they transitioned.
When they were Butch Queen as well. I think that some of the Butch Queen in the ballroom think that it gave them the right to talk about the femme queen as the way they were before. Like, oh, you know, I knew her when she went by the name of
That's so disrespectful.
She looked like
God.
And I know a lot of Butch Queen in the ballroom scene, and I will not name them because it would get wrong for them, but they know who they are.
Works fine.
And I used to, you know, fight with them like, you know, I don't feel like it's great what you do. I don't need to know her name before. I don't give a damn. And it's a little transphobic, and you hear since a lot of times. So why you acting like this? And even if you knew her for 10 years, 5 years, I don't give a F. You don't need to tell us everything, you know. And I think that maybe the closeness between them
can give them
the idea that they can do this. First of all, outside of the ballroom, the gay men are very transphobic people for me, because they don't respect trans women as they are, because they always see them as they were before, and they don't respect trans men because they are always like, oh, we only like dicks, we only like penises, we only like cocks everywhere. It's just
a lot of
about
colors.
this. And when you're a trans man who didn't have any surgery back there, and you don't want to because you feel comfortable with everything you are, and you gay, and you just sit there with gay men, cis gay men, that maybe sometimes they don't know that you're trans, you just hear that, you know, what you have between your legs, just disgust them, you know. They don't want to see this, they don't want to have to do nothing with this, and you just sit there and you tell to yourself, what I'm gonna do, who wants to do something with me and love me and have sexual
That's why it's not
intercourse
good to
with
date
me.
in a ballroom scene.
No.
Over.
Never
Okay.
try to get a date.
Over.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Well,
The way I wanted to pinpoint, I
over.
wanted to pinpoint something that's very important to me. I think that we should address is that in the black community, regardless if it's American community or French black community, we have a lack of sign of affection amongst black people. We don't know how to show affection to each other because of a simple thing that we didn't see our parents showing affection to our mothers and our fathers. So then we are completely unable to show affection amongst each other.
I was telling Andrew, I was telling yesterday that I'm going to see a psychiatrist. Because of that.
Because you said that to your parents?
No, I said that to a friend yesterday because I feel like I never really received love.
You never received that kind of
kindness.
I know that my parents love me, but they didn't express it. Obviously, action can be, seen or whatever, but sometimes you need that I love you, you need that hug or something like that. Which I don't know if my mother ever say I love you once. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think she did.
Yeah.
I know she loved me,
but you never heard her say
and this is why amongst the gay community and the queer community, regardless on which side of the fence we are, it's extremely hard to showcase affection amongst each other
in our friendships and relationships,
and our friendship and in our relationship, because we were never shown a map. And I think it's because of this black culture that sometimes our parents was trying to suppress that idea that you shouldn't hug your mom or your father shouldn't give kisses to your mother when he leaves and go out to work. Or because sometimes I think that sign of affection are more nourishing than a fuck. And amongst our community, we don't know how to date because we don't know how to show affection to each other, and then we think that fucking is the main thing when there's a bunch of things that has to lead.
Because see, and I think that's why anonymous sex is so easy for a lot of gay men,
black gay men.
Well, and see, because and it happens with everybody, white, Hispanic, but we talking about black people. But the thing is, whenever I have this conversation, people say, "Well, we're gay, we're queer, whatever however you want to say it. Why can't we create our own lane? Why do we have to be this?" But I think that when you think about it, there's a connection to what you just said. I think it's because
it's the roots.
And then even the reason why some black parents don't know how to show affection to their children, a lot of that roots back to slavery.
It's the
because
roots.
you don't want to be too affectionate with your kids in front of the slave master, because then they'll rip you from your children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes. And then I think in a lot of instances it was like parents were afraid of their children to be children, because then the slave master would whip the kid because they made a mistake. And so that's why black parents are sometimes really rough on their children, especially in public. You better act like you know when we go in this store. Like, don't act like this when we go to a restaurant.
The finger pointing, look at me when I'm talking to you.
Yes.
They're quick to finger point you because you made something wrong, then to give you a hug because you did something good.
Coming up next on Telling Our Stories.
I think a lot of people are addicted to porn and don't realize it.
And there
have been studies that have shown when you watch porn repeatedly, one, there's a disconnect. You don't know how to have emotional connections with people. And it changes the shape of the way the
brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have been asking me about the CMOS. Okay, here it is. Here's the plug. It is www.bhaitybloom.com. And if you use promo code CTWS, you'll get 10% off every single time you order. There's a variety of flavors, everything from mango to strawberry to green apple to pomegranate. It is there. Go on over to the website, www.bhaitybloom.com. This product comes directly from St. Lucia. Quite frankly, this is the first time I've had sea moss that doesn't taste like algae. Sea moss is great for improving energy levels, joint pain. Oops, yes, I dropped that. Removing inflammation from the body. And yes, it's perfect for the entire family, even the children. This really is the first time I've had sea moss that doesn't taste like a sea creature. You know that fishy taste. Yeah, it doesn't have that. But listen, follow her on Instagram and Facebook. You see it.
But you're right though. It's deep.
It is deep.
Yeah, but I think now I have lots of hope in this new generation.
Me too.
You know, I see lots of people going therapy, even like me, like I
And
was
everyone
like,
needs
this is a
it.
white thing.
Yeah,
we all need it.
No
I
shade,
believe too.
But everybody would think, even me, I was like, this is a white thing to
Yeah.
go to therapy. We're happy and ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But
Or
no,
for
you
people
know,
crazy.
you know, and
We all
now,
have trauma.
Yeah.
Yes.
you know,
all
and now
have
we go, and
traumas.
this hope is so good because like people now like open the mouth about that and talk about like we fight a lot about black joy, that now like we close in this joy, so we cannot talk about like the things who hurt us, you know? And now I see people yes,
Come on now.
It is.
no shade,
It is.
and yeah,
When you
Period.
met someone who is good in the head, you feel it, you know,
Yeah.
someone who can talk about her or his trauma, you know, I've been through this when I was a child and it taught me this, and now I can give this to you because I solved everything in my, you know, my past.
Yeah.
And the adult that we are today were made through this child that we were, you know, all the trauma that we carry around with
Because
us.
the child is raised by the village. So in the village you have aunties, cousins,
Yeah.
nephew, and we all have an influence and we all participate in this education of that child.
Yeah.
And we have to find the best way to heal our traumas because we are deeply affected.
And it starts with talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. So, just kind of wrapping up, we kind of mentioned earlier, like being online. You said you used something and you first met the guy, and you said you met the guy online. I believe that a lot of us come into this community, specifically the men, come into this community looking for sex. You know, whether it's online, whether it's through an app, whether it's at the club, whatever, or a bookstore. I think there's something to be said about that too. Like the way that so many of us at one point or another get comfortable to have sex with an actual stranger. Like you literally go to somebody's house that you do not know, or you invite them to your house and you do not know their name, you do not know their sexual health, you don't know anything about them. And now you see so many people having unprotected sex without even asking a person's status, without even asking if their status or whether or not they're on PrEP or whether or not you get into all of that. Like, what do you think that is? Because I was having this conversation with Vinny the other day. Because again, whenever I have these conversations with people or I say it online, people say, "Oh, you're sex shaming." No,
it's not about
I'm not
that.
sex
It's
shaming.
not about this.
I'm
It's
literally,
not about that.
yeah, I'm literally wondering.
It's a real question.
Where do you go in your mind? And again, I'm saying this as a person that's done it before.
But
But I never felt comfortable.
I never done this. I've never done this.
Right. So where do you?
Because my mother was like, you know, if you do this with this person, make sure that the person is clean. I think when you have a parent or two parents who are behind you, like, you know, you have to do this, and when you do this, be sure that the person is clean, that you know her, you know him, you know, talk with her, and you know, so
communication.
and so I was always like, "You sure you're clean? Okay, maybe we could."
When you say clean, are you talking about hygiene or are you talking about HIV status?
I'm talking about HIV test, like, you know.
You're talking about HIV?
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to be real clear because the kids don't like for you to say clean because then that means.
Oh, in French we say clean.
No, but in English it doesn't mean the same thing.
In English it doesn't mean the same thing. They
Okay.
don't like it because it sounds like you're suggesting. So this is a cultural thing.
But that's
so don't be chewing my friend up.
No, you better, because that's very interesting.
Yeah.
They associate it as, well, what do you mean I'm not clean?
Oh, it doesn't.
If it's a person that's HIV positive.
Yes.
In French, it doesn't.
It doesn't mean
like
that.
Oh,
that. It's not like this, you know?
that's
It's
good that you're
interesting
telling
to
us
know.
that, because you know, like I was telling you, like retarded, for example.
Right.
We don't say that anymore in the States, right? We
Right.
cannot say somebody is retarded.
Right.
You know, it's good to learn something like that, because
Right.
you will ask somebody, "Are you clean?" Like, meaning that if I'm HIV positive, it means that, bitch, I'm dirty.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
implying
Right.
that.
Okay.
So okay.
Right.
So let me rewind. So my mother was like, you know, make sure the people doesn't have anything, you know. Don't you know, is HIV free? I don't know.
No STDs or
no
STIs.
STD, exactly. So I was always like, do you want to get tested together? You know. So when we got the test results, we can fuck. You know, and it was always like this.
Yeah.
And I always
I
was always like that all my life. And maybe because I'm a trans man, I've never had a one night thing because
Casual sex.
Yeah, I've never had this because first of all, I gotta say to the people, I'm trans, you know, and after this, I have to make sure I want to have sex with you because do you give me the vibe that it's
okay,
you know,
for
it's
you.
okay for you and something that I like, or you give me the
a fetish.
Exactly.
Right.
And for this, I need a little more than a night to make my mind up. You know? I need 2 nights maybe. But I need more than difficile.
So you need time to process.
Yeah. And make sure.
But like for me, like when I was in that space in my life, I was going through a functional depression, and I didn't know it at the time. And I was having conversations with a couple of my friends. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm meeting these people online, and it wasn't every day. But the fact that I was able to go up to a place in my mind where I was okay. But I see people now, and it feels like all they care about is having unprotected sex. They don't care who they're having it with. They're having sex on Twitter. They're putting it on social media. Everybody, it feels like everybody has an OnlyFans. It's like, and again, I'm not.
Yeah, I guess the only thing is due to the recession, honey. So they find.
Child, they were doing it before the recession.
Oh yeah.
But even if it is the recession, my thing is, people can't figure out other ways to make money other than fucking.
Well, listen,
it's the best revenues.
It's easy.
Okay.
It's the easy way.
It's easy. It's quick money. It's fast money.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't even want to go out. Let's just stick to the anonymous sex. The kids that ain't making no money.
Okay.
They just fucking.
Yeah.
Because I've
been around.
I won't just say in Atlanta, but I've seen on Twitter where you'll see people tweet out and say, "Hey, we're having a fuck party at such and such. Send your picture."
I think porn has to do I think porn has to love to do with
and see,
it.
I think a lot of people are addicted to porn and don't realize it.
And this is
and there have been studies that have shown when you watch porn repeatedly, one, there's a disconnect. You don't know how to have emotional connections with people, and it changes the shape of the way
the brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so
does it change your attraction to someone that you become more strict and I want this and that?
No.
Or how does
like
it change it?
It's almost
like
like
the wrong. For me, it's just giving wrong information about the reality.
So I got a question now. So when you say watch porn, every day, what do
he
you
trying to tell us that he watches porn every day?
No, like what's
I
mean,
like father, like son.
Don't fucking zoom on my face, bitch. I see you. No, no, because
sometimes I like to watch porn rather than do it because I know that if I do it, the person is not going to satisfy me because most of the time they don't know how to do it.
Well, then what I'm saying is, in some instances, when you're, and I'm not saying in all cases, but in some instances when you inundate yourself with porn, you can't be pleased because your mind is now wired to only be satisfied in the way that you see it on TV.
Yeah.
It's just like if you masturbate all day.
It depends. It's like because some stuff that I watch on for example Twitter. Because now, bitch, you don't have to go to a porn site.
You open up your Twitter. You gotta be careful.
Twitter is the porn site.
Because you don't know what's gonna be.
Actually, it's called X.
Right.
For a reason. X. So when you go on motherfucking X and this thing, you see you see 2-minute clips or whatever the case. Oh, it's the mistake.
That wore me out.
I don't have to
So my thing is like obviously
Madame Lachaud.
So I see some stuff like some position and stuff like that. Like it's intriguing.
Yeah.
But it's not that I'm craving for that. Especially, it's like okay, maybe I will try one day or something like that.
On the next episode of Telling Our Stories.
Again, it might be also Because people are watching porn a lot. Because obviously, no shade, I ain't gonna try to see a porn with motherfucking condom on.
Yeah,
no shade.
yeah.
So I think when you have the courage to come out, you just want to like experiment. Oh my god, now that I know this, I want to experiment to understand.
Really take the time to experience other people, other things, life experiences, the way other people live. This is why I've been saying forever, and if you've been watching my videos for a long time now, you know that I've always talked about the beauty of travel, because it really opens your mind. And it doesn't have to be as far as France, but when you get to travel, see how other people live, it changes you. When I released my first book, I remember thinking very heavily about Elon Harris and how he did it, how he managed to reach millions of people around the world through his work, and how I would do it. His readers became my readers. I write because it's my passion. I write with black people on my mind and black gay men in my heart. Toni Morrison gave me the courage to say that out loud.
Yes, I can write about white people. White people can write about black people. Anything can happen in art. There are no boundaries there.
I could write about anything, anyone, but I choose to write about our experience.
And I've spent my entire writing life trying to make sure that the white gaze was not the dominant one in any of my books.
Book of Jewels is my love letter to black people.
It has nothing to do with who reads the books. Everyone, I hope, of any race, any gender, any country.
Book of Jewels is 11 of the biggest life lessons that I've learned to date, and the stories behind those lessons. Book of Jewels is available now on Audible, all e-readers, and Amazon.com. Visit www.Craig